Coming to you live from deep within an icy, radioactive wasteland, we are the survivors of the social justice zombie apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy. Once more wading into battle against the zombie hordes with Rantzerker, number 25.
I think they're more like zombie herds, actually.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's sort of like shuffling sheep.
Yeah, no, it's like they're like a total herd. They follow wherever the rest of the herd goes.
Anyway, so this one is called Dear Vermin. Hashtag Dear Vermin.
All right.
Yeah, shall we get right into it?
I think we should.
Or shall I? How shall I pre-zerk some ideas?
I don't know whether you need to pre-zerk this one. There's plenty of shit in here to zerk over. Like honestly, I started watching this when it first came out and it was directed to my attention. I started watching it, and about a minute in, I just had to pause it and go, "Oh, fucking hell!" Like, I know how it's going, right? You know exactly how it's going. The moment she's like, "It's about boys," right? And then you're just like, "Oh, fuck it," and you just click away. Right? Yeah. It's just like you don't even want to fucking hear it. And now, dog, oh my god. Find a place to be and be there. Go. Up. Lie down. Up. Go on. Get lost. Fucking lie down. Stop clacking.
Sorry. Okay. No, we all understand your troubles with your bitch.
Oh my god, she just like is clackety, 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 clackety. Like, and she's not even doing anything. She's just wandering around and looking at stuff. Yeah. Looking at inanimate objects.
Yeah, and for anybody who wants to just pop in, there's the Hangout link.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, anyhow.
Did you select the video? I know this is...
I have to present to everybody first.
Yeah, but you're presenting... No, you gotta select the video first.
No, I don't.
This is like the screen of infinity. Okay, never mind.
There you go.
All right. I think this will work. I think this is good.
I think so.
And the dog has stopped clacking, so that's also a benefit.
Yeah, she actually finally got up on the fucking couch, and now she's just gonna have a nap. She better.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Can't we just zoom through this pretentious bullshit?
Looking after me so well.
No, we can't.
Even though I'm not yet born. I know you already try harder than Superman. You won't even let Mommy eat sushi. But I need to ask you a favor. Warning. It's about boys.
Pause. Yeah. We have to pause every 20 seconds.
Yeah,
it's about boys.
It's about boys. Look at this guy. He just looks so cute.
Okay, but here's what I don't really understand about this whole logic. Well, no, Karen, regardless of how cute they are, their jaws unhinge and they eat you whole.
Apparently so.
Yeah, so these boys, they're dangerous. Look at his eyes. You can tell he just wants to kill and rape. He's a boy.
Look. No, he's just adorable.
Yeah, that's your internalized misogyny speaking. This isn't a human being. It's some sort of monstrous creature wearing a human skin. But anyway, regardless, what's interesting about this whole logic is that she's appealing to the man who's presumably the people who created the patriarchy that makes boys do what they do. Right?
No, like as if in the entirety of human history, right? In the entirety of human history, there was no father who actually loved his daughter and was, interested in making the world a safer, better place for her. Just this one, because she's making this impassioned plea that no other woman has ever made toward her father, right? Ever in the entire history of the world, Dad, I want to be safe in the world. You should do what you can to make that happen. That there's no man who would ever ever in the entire history of mankind, right, have just thought that all on his own. I have this precious little girl. I have this precious, tiny, helpless little baby girl, and I want to make the world a safe and happy place that's concerned with her well-being, right? No, that never occurred to any man before in the history of the world. And on top of that, there was no girl or woman in the history of the entirety of humanity who would have inspired that in her own father, right?
I mean, it's actually even more insidious than that. Essentially, what I think this is a feminist publication. If not, it's severely gynocentric.
It's from fucking Norway, you know.
Okay, all right, fair enough. She is appealing to the generation that presumably would have put the patriarchy in that's causing these boys to act in the way they do. Does that make any fucking sense?
I know. Like, you'd as well appeal to, like, you know, Chairman Mao or Pol Pot or something for mercy, right? You know, like her father is, I mean, essentially what this advertisement, this PSA is doing is it's exposing female power for what it is, which is the incredible influence a young girl, a daughter, has on her father to want to change the world and make it a better place for his daughter, right? Like, to assume that, like, these are completely contradictory ideas that she's trying to describe. He's, number one, he is the person who has upheld the patriarchy, who's generated this system that oppresses her, right? And on the other hand, there's any way that she could appeal to his mercy.
Or even that she should appeal to his mercy when he is the one who's responsible for teaching the boys to be rapey and beady. That's the thing. It's like, I guess fathers of girls are completely separate from the patriarchy, despite being the generation of men who would have created the quote-unquote hegemonic masculinity that teaches these boys to act. All right.
What drives me crazy, too, about all of this is that there are studies that have shown that children learn sexist values primarily from their mothers, not their fathers.
Well, and here's another point that is interesting. It's sort of like a meta point. I have to admit that this freeze frame, despite my facetious, and that was facetious, by the way, for everyone who takes things literally, I don't literally think that this guy's jaw on hinges and he swallows girls whole, nor do I think that he's some sort of alien imposter. But I will say this freeze frame on this guy, this has got to be the most pleasant expression that we've ever seen.
Yeah, no, this is like, this guy just looks like a sweetie.
Yeah, and in the context of all of the videos that we've reviewed, we see a lot of unpleasant expressions.
Oh man, every time we freeze frame, it's like, oh my fucking God, right?
Yeah, like, and you try to get you're like, oh my God, she looks like, and it's all, we're reviewing feminist productions with feminists in them. Yeah. And you take a freeze frame and you just do it randomly, because all I'm doing is saying Karen pause, and then you have the delay for Karen to hear me say Karen pause because of the phone lines, and then you have the delay for her to pause, and so there's no intention to find the worst images of these women, like the most snarky, mean, snide, contemptuous, vicious, bullying, abusive expressions on their faces, and yet we always seem to pause on them.
Yeah.
We always seem to pause on faces that look like a serial killer who's gotten away with her crimes, and or somebody who's lying and just enjoying the fact that they're lying to you. Yeah. We always seem to pause on that expression, and always when we're reviewing feminists. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, he just, like, everything about him just looks completely this sweet. He just looks like a great kid, you know.
And they are literally going to contrast this with, you know, the malfeasance.
Oh yeah, they're setting him up as the big bad guy.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Oh, for fuck's! Oh God, feminists! Now you're just being sick.
Go.
Yeah, like, okay, so yes, all these boys with these very, very nice expressions.
Which means that by the time I'm 14, The boys in my class.
See, and she just looks kind of bitchy.
Yeah, she just looks
She's like,
a
no,
little
no,
bit more
you
bitchy.
look, if you look at the underlid of her eyes, right? She's doing that kind of come at me bra stare.
Yeah, this is the problem with all of this propaganda. I mean, to be frank, this is abuse.
Well,
This is an abuse. This is saying that boys, implicating them with this incoherent, like absolutely incoherent architecture to reality, in which you're appealing to the men that you say are responsible for treating to the boy or making the boys into assholes. Well, I guess, like, does that even make any fucking sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Anyway, but what was really interesting is that in all of these things, these people look like exactly what they are. They are abusive. I mean, I'm not as convinced with this one, although, yeah, she does have a little bit of the snarkiness appearing.
Yeah,
but all of these feminists, they look...
muscles here,
Yeah.
the facial muscles. She's kind of doing that squint, that like...
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Clint Eastwood...
yeah, when you do the thing with the two fingers and you're like, I'm fucking watching you thing, right?
Yeah.
She's got that
So
look.
this is all encouraging girls to act in a way that is abusive and morally superior to boys. And we have this institutionalized. This is stuff that you can see this on freaking expensive productions creating this. And this is abuse. Like, full stop.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
It's
Okay,
not
right.
abuse yet. But it will become so. Moving on.
People have called me a whore, a bitch, a cunt, and many other things. It's
okay.
But do they do it in an expensive program that is,
no. Here's the thing, right? And Noah Plum just uploaded a video about this that I found very interesting. It sort of confirmed a lot of my stuff, but his wife, Noel Plum 99, I would recommend his YouTube channel. He's extremely even-handed and level-headed, an atheist YouTuber who's been on YouTube since like 2006 or something like that. Anyhow, he uploaded a video about this and he said he had actually sat down with his wife and watched it. His wife is a teacher in a junior high or a high school or something like that. And she told him that 90% of the shitty behavior that's aimed at girls comes from other girls, and 90% of the shitty behavior that's aimed at boys comes from other boys. That it is an intrasexual competition thing that goes on, that it's quite rare, in fact, to find a boy calling a girl a slut, a bitch, a whore, a cunt, whatever, but extremely common to find that, girls calling other girls these types of names, right? And so what exactly are you saying here? Okay, I'll have been called a cunt, a whore, a bitch by boys, by the time I'm 14. Yeah, by like 2 or 3 boys that'll have happened, and about like 100 fucking girls.
Yeah.
well,
oh no,
okay,
again,
I'm gonna mute you.
Okay, so, but what I'm getting at in terms of it being abusive is, what the hell are these people trying to do? I mean, we already know that a lot of the bullying towards girls is by other girls. So why are you constantly creating this one particular narrative, going back to it over and over again?
It really is. It's just trying to put all of the blame on the boys. It's trying to demonize boys. It's trying to say that that somehow these standards are created by men and perpetuated by boys, when in reality it's mostly girls doing it to girls and boys doing it to boys. Right?
So essentially, they don't really give a shit about female victims as long as they are victimized by someone who is not of the class that they see as victimizers, or that they don't see as victimizers. So girls who are victimized by other girls, they can go hang. See, you don't care about, this is the thing. These people do not care about victims unless they fit their arbitrary narrative. So it's really about pushing the narrative. And why? Why? Why are they so obsessed with pushing this narrative? I think I have a reason. I think I have an explanation.
Go
But
ahead.
let's continue. Let's continue.
Oh, okay. All right. We will continue.
Just for fun, of course.
Just for fun, of course. Yeah, whatever.
Something
Did you forget to do the present screen?
Hmm?
I think you forgot to do the present screen.
Oh my God. How can I have forgotten to do the present? No, see?
Okay, maybe I'm being the asshole. Oh no, yeah, you're right. You're good. You're good, Karen. Ignore me.
Right, fuck. Anyhow, she's like, it's all in fun, of course, right? Like they're trying to set her up as this like really well-meaning girl, right? And she just is very accepting of other people's flaws, and and so when the boy calls her a slut or a cunt or whatever, she just like tells herself, well, he's just doing it for fun, and I shouldn't get upset or whatever, because
What a fucking martyr.
yeah, absolutely.
So you won't worry. And I understand that.
So you won't worry, and I understand that. In other words, he's going to tell her, oh, don't worry about it. He's only picking on you because he likes you.
Ugh.
Or whatever.
What happens when, she and her girlfriends, like we were talking about this last time, she and her girlfriends run a boy down and force him to kiss them?
Yeah.
I mean, because people are educators and adults will say boys will be boys when boys do things like run at a girl and pull her pigtails.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't even have a word for it when a bunch of girls run a boy down and force him, pin him down and start kissing him.
Mm-hmm.
Or touching him. They don't even have a word for it. They don't even bother to have a freaking word for it.
Well,
they don't even have an excuse for it. That's just like, it's not even a behavior you need an excuse for. It's just girls laying their hands on boys. That's acceptable because boys are public property, apparently.
well, yeah, but feminists will have you believe the opposite, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is that feminists will have you believe a lot. They'll have
every single law in our system regarding making the touching of other people in a sexual way illegal, and every single policy that exists in a strip club, and every single and everything, right? All of the no means no stuff or whatever. Cosplay is not consent. All of that. That's all designed to protect women. When men are protected as well by that stuff, that's a byproduct. That's not the purpose of that. The purpose of that is to protect women, right? And girls. And so essentially they're saying that within the overarching paradigm of a system where every single fucking piece of legislation, piece of policy, guideline, standard, whatever, regarding you don't touch somebody sexually without their consent, right, is aimed specifically at protecting women, and any protection of men is just a byproduct. They will say that culture, that overarching paradigm, all of that, right, is a society where women's bodies are considered public property.
And in this case, they'll say boys will be boys because boys, that people will say, well, he's pulling your pigtails because boys will be boys. He just likes you, but no comment on the fact that that school administrations will regularly look the other way at girls who do much, much more invasive forms of sexual harassment or sexual assault.
Yep. Oh yeah.
No comment on that. They don't even need an excuse. That's just them taking what's due. Putting their hands on a boy, kissing a boy, groping a boy, those are all things that girls can do because they're girls.
Well, harmless, right?
Yes, harmless.
Fucking retarded. Anyhow, moving on.
Perhaps you did the same when you were young, trying to impress some of the other boys. I'm sure you didn't mean anything by it.
Sorry, I'm just pausing because number
20
one.
20 seconds of bullshit rule, and everybody who's in our audience, we got a good example of that when BuzzFeed pulled their video. So we do have to adhere to it.
Also, I'm trying to eat here. You know, I'm like, actually, I found a moment doing this Rantzerker to, like, you know, eat something, and this is just making me feel just absolutely freaking vomitrocious. Because it's like between the piano and the mournful violin, right, and the slow motion. All the evocative filming, and, you know, even just this blur here, you know, everything's blurred because, it's just so fucking emotional, and it just makes me want to hurl.
Well, okay, you know what? Everybody who's listening to this, I want you to go to this video and downvote it. This shit is just so atrocious. We got to do something to tell them to stop this shit, because this isn't even helpful for girls.
No.
This is like, first of all, girls give as good as they get.
Uh-huh.
And not just that, girls have the benefit of these kinds of widespread smearing campaigns that turn them into boys' moral superiority, so they can spit on boys from a position of being their moral superiors.
Yeah, they're spitting down on boys. They're punching down. They're not punching up.
They're punching down.
No, yeah, they are.
And so it's like, God, I got so pissed that I pulled out my mic cord, and then I was like, fuck, I can't even fucking remember anymore.
All right. I'm gonna move on.
Yes, do.
Still, some of the people won't get the joke.
Oh, look at that boy. He's smoking. What a bad kid.
And funnily enough, it isn't any of the girls. It's some of the boys.
Okay, wait.
This escalated quickly.
No, I just wanna hear what she said. Just okay.
Still, some of the people won't get the joke. And funnily enough, it isn't any of the girls. It's some of the boys.
Okay. She's essentially saying that the girls would recognize the it's just a joke, right? Calling a girl a slut or a whore, right? But some of the boys won't actually be able to tell that it's a joke. Some of the boys will take it seriously.
And those will be the boys who are raped by women.
Yeah, apparently. No, it's just like,
moms, dear mommy, if you want your daughter not to be raped, don't rape me. Love your son.
Mom, if you don't want your son to grow up violent, don't start hitting him when he's 7 months old and won't stay where you put him.
Yeah, like, this is what's so fucked up. No, it has nothing to do with these words. People are not gonna, or men are not gonna rape because they heard a word. It's serious mental illness that causes rape.
Well,
for the most part.
Serious damage to the psyche.
Serious.
I wouldn't say mental illness. It's not anything that's in the DSM.
Should be.
It's not a chemical imbalance in the brain or a lesion on a part of the brain, although in some cases it actually is. But it's essentially it's a specific history that generally causes men and probably women who do that to actually do that. So
this is going to do nothing to prevent rape.
Of course. Nothing
to prevent rape. Recognizing male rape victims would do more to prevent rape of female victims, to protect than this. But they won't do that because it's not about, that's what's so fucking infuriating. These people have the moral authority to say, oh, we're trying to stop victimization, but they're not. They couldn't give a shit. Or if they do give a shit, they don't give a shit enough to question their own freaking architecture, like their own perception of reality.
Yeah, their own paradigm.
They
won't question the narrative. The narrative is this,
supreme.
and this is what it shall stay. And it really doesn't matter how many people are hurt in the service of preserving that narrative. So, yeah. All right, moving on.
So by the time I turned 6,
Okay, so here we have it. He's going for what, second base? Or is it third base? Wait, second base is the boobs. And third base is down the pants. Okay, let's see what happens.
a couple of the boys will have snuck their hands down my
Okay, and then she's like, yeah, no, that's not okay. And then he removes his hand.
pants while I'm so drunk I can't even stand straight.
Okay, and she's so drunk she can't even stand straight. And he tried to sneak his hand down her pants, and then she's like, yeah, no, I don't want that. And then he's like, okay.
And although I say no, they just laugh.
Yeah, because you said no, and then he just kind of went, oh, okay, and pulled his hand away. He respected your wishes.
Okay, no, but they're building up to something. There's a crescendo here, I'm sure of it.
God. Like, I don't understand this. Like, according to these bitches, the very first guy who felt me up when I was 14 raped me, right? Because I didn't give him permission beforehand. And when it happened, right, I was like, and I was like, totally, we were escalating. We were mutually escalating, right? And when he did that, I was like, oh, that feels weird. Yeah, just back off, right? And then like 2 days later, I'm like, okay, I actually would really like you to put your hand in my underpants again.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, if we go back, let's go back a few seconds. Who kissed who? Who initiated the kissing?
Okay, who initiated the kissing?
This is going to probably be hilarious if I'm right.
It's some of the boys.
Oh fuck!
She grabbed his head and pulled it toward her.
She grabs his head and pulls it towards her. So in their very goddamn own PSA, but they actually display the fact that they do not treat the two characters as consistent. Did she ask for permission for that? So she escalates, but when he escalates, it's bad.
Yeah, oh, of course. And even though he backs off. And this actually reminds me, because there was NCHERM, right? It's the National something or other for Higher Education Risk Management, right? Brett Sokolow is the head of that organization, and he made a career out of essentially making recommendations and consulting with universities on how to avoid being sued, over campus sexual assault. In other words, he's one of the architects of where we're at with campus sexual assault and how it's handled, right? Because he essentially said, oh, if there's a complaint against a man on your campus and you don't expel that guy, right, and then he goes on to victimize another woman, you're going to get sued, right? So you have to, here's how you should, organize your tribunals, your star chambers, your kangaroo courts, whatever. Here's how you should do it, right? All of this stuff, right? He spent years consulting with universities over this and making thousands and thousands of dollars doing it. Okay. Now, I read part of a handbook, a guidance handbook to train people who actually sit on sexual assault hearings, right? And not just to train them, but to help universities write their sexual misconduct policies, including examples of what would constitute sexual misconduct. Okay, so in this one scenario that I read that he suggested, okay, here's the scenario. We'll call them Jack and Jane. Jack and Jane meet at a party, right? And they are both drinking. And they're out on the dance floor. And she decides she's going to like twerk against him and then grab his groin. And then he pulls her close and they make out on the dance floor. Then they go upstairs. Then, at some point in the escalation of things, she decides she has cold feet. And then he I don't know, guilts her into giving him a hand job, he is guilty of sexual misconduct. Okay, but in that scenario, she did not get his consent to twerk against him, and she did not get his consent to grab his junk on the dance floor before she did it.
Yeah.
And it's completely overlooked. It's there in the examples of him being guilty of sexual misconduct and her being a victim.
Well, and the thing is that he does get her consent for the hand job because he has to actually, even if it's guilty consent.
Yeah, he has to persuade her.
He has to persuade her. In this case, I mean, I don't have a problem. Obviously, he was inviting her to come sit down with him, and it looked like he was inviting, so her kissing him, I don't think, was sexual assault.
No.
But had he not wanted it, had he not wanted it, I mean, it would have been and pulled away. That would that have been classified as sexual? It would have been classified as sexual assault in this scenario, because she, instead of looking at a sexual encounter as a series of physical like escalations, and then you decide if you want it or not, they're saying that if someone physically escalates without explicit permission from your partner, that they have just engaged in sexual assault. Well, she physically escalated. She didn't have explicit permission. If he wasn't happy with it, she would have been an assaulter according to their rules.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've essentially created two rules and displayed a female sexual assaulter according to their rules as being the victim.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is that she comes to him, she does the physical escalation first, and then when he does a physical escalation, she says, no, well, that's fine. That's entirely her right, but it doesn't make him a sexual assaulter.
Yeah.
Because she's already set the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
And yeah, when she says, when she indicates she's not interested in a further escalation, fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
He backed off, and then he kind of gives a nervous laugh, like, no biggie.
Oh yeah, let's see. Let's see if this gets darker.
Okay.
16, a couple of the boys will have snuck their hands down my pants while I'm so drunk I can't.
It's sneaking! That was not sneaking!
No.
That was a physical you engaged in a physical escalation. He engaged in a physical escalation, like normal people having sex.
Yep.
That wasn't sneaking, you dipshit.
Wasn't like he snuck up behind you and shoved his hand down your pants.
No. If you are going to reserve the right for yourself to physically escalate my Fraulein, whatever the hell, then you have to quid pro quo. And if he does physically escalate and you say no, fine, that's perfectly within your right. But don't fucking do this shit.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself more latitude than you give your sexual partners. That's shitty.
Yeah. No, it's cunt move. Cunt move.
And although I say no, they just laugh. It's funny, right? If you saw me, Daddy,
What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, no, she clearly wants more, but he's just like, yeah, no. He's essentially rejecting her because she's too drunk, or she just doesn't want to.
No, I think what she's saying is she's the experience of her having pulled him to her, physically escalated to the kiss, and then him reciprocating by physically escalating further.
Yeah.
That whole experience, I'm guessing she's never going to recover from.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? This scene, he's just like, yeah, I don't got time for this, right?
Really?
That's right too. No, if you look, right? If you look, he just laughs about it. She's like
funny,
still
right?
hugging and stuff, but he's just like, no, go.
if you saw me, Daddy,
And that's his right too.
Well, no, but are you sure it isn't playing like, okay, your cinematography sucks and you should feel bad. I should understand what's going on here. Because I got a different interpretation.
Oh, okay.
I mean, your interpretation is like, I ain't got no time for this shit, and which is a perfectly valid response. If I were a guide, I would say that.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're physically escalating, but I can't physically escalate. And then you look like, oh my God, you've destroyed my life. Fuck that. I'm not going to play by two different sets of rules, one that you get and one I have.
Even if he's not thinking of that, even if he's just like, I really want to like fuck a girl right now, and you're not down for it, goodbye.
But I think what they're going for.
How is that a horrible thing? That's what they're going for here.
No, I don't think so. I disagree, Karen. I think I know what they're going for. I think what they're going for is that was his ultimate goal. Somehow he lured her over, got her to physically escalate, and then he physically escalated beyond her comfort zone. She said no. He turned away and laughed uncomfortably. And then that was like, oh, I got one over for Team Boy. That was that. I think that's what they're going for.
I think
Touchdown for Team Boy.
I think this is actually him. This little bit is him. Like, I only wanted you for sex, and I'm not getting it, so I'm gonna go find somebody else.
Yeah. So what? Anyway.
So, but
No wonder I'm raped when I'm 21.
Yeah, I knew they were going to do the crescendo.
Yeah. No, this isn't even. We're not even halfway through. It's not the crescendo yet.
Oh fuck.
No wonder you're raped when you're 21 because a guy respected your consent.
That doesn't even fucking make sense.
Oh my god.
21 and on my way home in a taxi driven by the son of a guy you went swimming with every Wednesday. The guy who always told insulting jokes.
Oh my god, for fuck's sake! This is the same thing that they do with objectification. Objectification is a serious mental illness. And yes, it is a mental illness. And it is a crippling problem that some people have. And it totally destroys their lives. And they say that men just spontaneously develop objectification when they find a woman sexy. Yeah, right. Tell me some other bullshit. This is the same thing. Somehow we're supposed to associate the jokes with the rape.
Yeah, I know. Don't you feel bad, Alison, that your 40-pound box of rape contributed to the rapes of women? Innumerable women. Like, I'm sorry, right? I'm like reading the comments on a video today, right? I forget what fucking video it was, but JGG came on and he seems to be a real sweetie. He's a gay guy, right? From, I don't know, fucking Brazil or some shit. And he, recognized some other commenter and he's like, I'm totally going to rape you. And then they get into this big back and forth about, you've lost weight, Jay says, I would have raped you even when you were heavy, right? And like, oh, you'd rape me when I'm obese? I'm so touched. And,
It's ridiculous. Okay, you know what I want to point out? I got echo again. And I will point this out as you sort yourself out, bitch. All right. What I want to point out is when you look at researchers who are looking into why kids end up becoming sexual predators or sexually abusing other kids, do you know what they look at in terms of causal factors for this? I can tell you it is not rape jokes. It's not overhearing rape jokes. It's not making rape jokes. Some of the causal factors for a person, well, they only really studied men or boys so far, but some of the causal factors include neglect, emotional abuse, or some of the correlative factors. Like, we don't know if it's causative because it's social science, and there's always the issue of ethics to untangle causation and correlation. So these are factors that correlate. Emotional abuse, neglect, being sexually abused. In particular, one of the biggest correlations is a boy being sexually abused by a woman. Nowhere in the legitimate study of why people rape do they make any correlation between rape jokes and becoming a rapist. Do you know why? Because it's absurd. It is fucking absurd.
Yeah, it's absolutely retarded.
And I invite any feminist listening to this to find serious researchers into the subject of why people end up becoming sexual predators that even look into rape jokes as a causal factor or even a correlative factor.
Yeah, no.
You people are pushing a narrative and it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, no, it's completely fucked up and counterproductive. And this is why I will always, I mean, I may actually be able to find common ground with a given feminist on a given issue, right? And be able to work with them on that one issue if we agree with how it should be addressed, right? But because of the way they assign causality, because of their sort of framework of theories, you know, patriarchy, male privilege, female oppression, systemic violence against women, rape culture, all of that, because there is a fundamental divergence between what I believe causes these problems and what they believe causes these problems, there's just absolutely no way that I can find like that I can actually engage in a cooperative relationship on, you know, on a large range of subjects, on a large range of issues, because we disagree that fundamentally about what the causes are. And so we're absolutely going to disagree on what the solutions are.
Yeah, and it's really problematic. It's really difficult to work with people, to get people who believe that boys are the problem, to recognize that they have problems.
Oh yeah. No, and here's the thing, right? The people who made this video will be saying, well, but we believe the way boys are socialized is a problem that boys have. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but this scene in the swimming pool shower, right? This is not fundamentally what causes boys to have problems, you know, to become antisocial as adults. There's no bullying going on here. There's no meanness. There's no anything that's untoward going on here other than them laughing with each other over risque humor.
Okay, here's a simple equation, feminists. You get in, you get out of boys what you put in.
Yeah.
Specifically, you get out of boys what women put into them. If women shove them full of rape and abuse and this kind of crap, and they treat boys as expendable, that's what you get out. And in fact, it's amazing. It's fucking amazing to me that you don't get more of that out. I mean, as on a whole, considering how much, and this is statistical fact, women are the largest abusers of children.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's looking like that women are not just the largest physical and emotional and neglect-wise abusers of children, they're also the largest sexual abusers of boys. Now, this is amazing to me, that boys aren't more aggressive, more violent. And it's actually a testament
that they don't have more latent hostility toward women.
It's actually a testament to the natural gentleness.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really is. It's not even the natural gentleness, because I don't think boys are necessarily very gentle with each other, but that you can actually see in some of the most masculine boys out there, you know, from age like 1, 2, you know, the ones who are like, you know, jumping from the back of the couch to like the chair that's all the way across the living room and stuff, like the ones that their parents are just like pulling their hair out because everything in the house is broken, right? Because these boys are so rambunctious. If you actually look at how even from age 1 or 2, right, and you bring in a newborn baby and you tell them it's a boy or you tell them it's a girl, how differently this 1.5-year-old, very, very rambunctious boy will treat a baby girl or a baby that he thinks is a girl compared to how he'll treat one that he thinks is a boy, right? Just absolutely being 100% protective, gentle, sweet, you know, nice, attentive, right? And with the boy, he'll be like, why doesn't he want to wrestle? He just lies there.
Yeah.
So like, it's not even that boys, I think, are gentle just in general, but I think that they tend to be, to trend towards being much more gentle around girls than they are around each other. And you're like taking these boys who are just like, look like they're not being dicks to each other. They're just being boys. Like,
Yeah, well, any kind of camaraderie between boys is obviously evidence of the patriarchy. Look, these boys aren't going to rape unless they are raped, and that may not hold true for all of the rapists, but it holds true for at least 60 to 80%, probably more. Or if they're severely emotionally neglected, that's another causal factor. But
yeah.
I mean, the thing is that literally people who research why certain boys go on to become sexual abusers, and they just focus on boys because no one gives a shit about girls who are sexual abusers, but they start with a population of boys that have themselves been sexually abused. That doesn't mean that all boys who have been sexually abused go on to abuse. In fact, it's only a minority who do. But they start with that population because there's no point starting with any other population. So it's just not, unless these boys are secretly being fingered, by Miss Sticky Fingers, their substitute teacher.
Yeah, or their babysitter.
Or their babysitter, or their mom, or their aunt. It's really unlikely that they're going to go on to sexually abuse girls.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to focus our efforts and intervention and recognition if you really want to reduce the rate of rape, not blaming all of this stuff on rape jokes, which I've never, in all of the time that I have researched why people rape, I have never seen a serious researcher have rape jokes anywhere.
Yeah.
In their material. Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that's because the whole idea of it is retarded.
It is.
It was only jokes. So you laughed.
Oh, there's no jokes. Only jokes. Everybody knows they're only jokes.
Oh, look at him though. Look at him. Okay. He's like, oh, I shouldn't be laughing. He's like, oh, I'm going to hell for laughing at this. Right? That's just, I don't know. I just find that cute. Like, I remember the first dirty jokes that I heard when I was a kid, and how, how they made you feel like, it's just like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I am, right? And you sort of have that embarrassed laugh, right? And you glance away, and you're just like, oh God, that was horrible, right? Whether it was a dead baby joke or a Holocaust joke or whatever, right? I just, those are like, they're trying to take these moments away from boys. Those are moments that I cherish. Those moments that, like your first dirty joke, right? The first one you heard that made you feel kind of uncomfortable, but you still laughed because it was actually funny, even though it made you feel a little weird. Because you feel guilty about laughing about it. And then, when you get brave enough to actually tell your own dirty joke, oh my God, right? And it's just, I just, like, they're trying to steal all of these little moments of joy and camaraderie and bonding and all of this, just from boys, right? Because girls, right, they can tell filthy, nasty, sexist jokes about boys till the cows come home. That's fine, because it doesn't contribute to rape, right?
I'm just putting in the low bar some stats.
Okay, I'm gonna give my dog some whatever the fuck it is she wants.
Yeah, well, I can't actually advance the video while Karen does that, but it's, not only do they want to take away these moments of joy, they want to implicate them as responsible for the rape of girls. And while Karen is away, I'd like to throw some stats out there. Recent studies into the sexual assault of college-age men and high school youth have found that 43% of college men and high school youth report being sexually assaulted or raped, 95% by women. And I'll put these statistics in the low bar as well. Another study.
95% by female acquaintances.
Oh, by female acquaintances. Okay, and then 51% of college men report being sexually assaulted or raped since the age of 16 by 95% by women.
Yep.
So we have unbelievably high rates of girls and women assaulting and raping boys and men, which isn't surprising.
No.
Because we are what we are. We are a social mammal. Our greatest strength lies in our cleverness and our ability to maneuver circumstances to our benefit. And women are as good, if not better at that than men.
One of the interesting things I noticed about that, at least about the 43% study, was that, and others, right, is that when men have sort of submitted to like sexual intercourse that they did not want with a woman, they will actually give reasons like, I felt like it was expected of me, like, you know, it was sort of social pressure. It was like, I felt like if I didn't do it, I would, you know, I would be embarrassed, or it would, you know, it would reflect poorly on me or whatever, right? What that says to me is that they're not going to place the blame on the girl who pressured them into it, right? Whereas if you ask girls why they do it, it's because the boy persuaded me. It's because he guilted me into it, because he did these things. He nagged me. He, you know, pressured me. He did. Like the boys will say it was, you know, society that pressured him into it, right? That he didn't want to do it, but he felt like there was societal pressure on him to just, you know, say yes even when he wanted to say no, or to let it happen, right? So it really is this weird dichotomy between how these boys and these girls perceive these things that they've had happen to them. When girls are pressured or coerced into sex by a male acquaintance or whatever, they'll blame him, right? When a boy is pressured or coerced, like verbally or whatever, or even held down, right? But he obviously could, if he wanted to, or if he felt he could not allow her to overpower him, right? Just in terms of physical strength, he isn't going to blame her. He's going to blame social pressures. He's going to blame, you know, well, then I wouldn't be a man, you know, or I would feel like a pussy, or I would feel like I was gay, or whatever, right? Anything other than to blame her, right? It's almost like he's taking responsibility for it. He's just saying, well, you know, she didn't force me to do it. She didn't coerce me into doing it. I decided to do it, or to let it happen because of all these other factors, right? Not because of anything she did. It's like the most incredible difference that goes on there. So it really is like they refuse to blame the girl.
Okay.
Moving on.
You would have told him to get a grip. But how could you know? He was just a boy, telling weird jokes. And in any case, it wasn't your business. You were just being nice. But his son, raised on these jokes...
No! No! Absolutely fucking not! You don't get to degrade what rape is! You don't get to fucking... You talk about fucking rape jokes? You talk about that degrading... This degrades it!
Yeah.
This degrades it! This is taking something that is a serious problem and turning it into grist for your stupid mill! For your stupid narrative fucking bullshit! You degrade rape, all of you! You feminists, you degrade rape and you degrade rape victims! You degrade the entire cycle of this problem with your bullshit! And you force it down on people who don't want... This is so fucking shit, because you know what this is? This has nothing to do with ending rape or doing anything about rape. It's about using it to promote a social attitude.
It's about using it as a political bludgeon.
It's about using it to promote a social attitude. You know what it is? And I realize this. These people are using this to uphold these fundamentalist traditional gender roles of woman purely defined by being acted upon, man purely defined by acting. And I know you've cited the gender tradition, the gender equality paradox, where women in Iran do better in STEM than women in this place that does shit like this. What place is it?
Norway.
Okay, women in Iran go into STEM more than women in Norway. And the funny thing is, they call it the gender equality paradox, except there's an unexamined premise. And that premise is that Norway isn't a gender fundamentalist country like the rest of the West. You think you're a gender egalitarian? You are not. You promote a fucking fundamentalist view of gender where women and men aren't even in the same fucking, not even different species, not even different planets. Men and women are in different categories of existence. They're defined as man, actor, woman acted upon, and that's it. That's how we in the West define it. And the reason why we do that is because we have the wealth to indulge in a fucking gender dichotomy that is so strict, so profound, and so unworkable that we can literally strip away women's agency and just pretend it doesn't exist because we have that much wealth, because we don't live in a society that has to recognize women working, has to recognize women's responsibility just to survive. That's the society that we lived in up to about 50 years ago and all around the world. That's the societies they are in. They cannot fucking afford this gender role that we have because this is an indulgence. This is an indulgence to the fucking super rich.
This is like the foie gras of gender fundamentalism, isn't it? It's after the goose has had the funnel forced down its throat and been force fed for like 5 months, right? That's what this is, right? It's foie gras for the public. It's fatty, tastes nice. It's not very good for you, and it comes at a huge cost to the people who end up being hurt by it, or the individuals who end up being hurt by it.
This is an indulgence of the most wealthy, materially abundant culture on the planet. This is our indulgence. We are gorging ourselves at the trough of these gender roles that are so extreme that we never could afford before. Never in the history of humanity could we afford to make gender roles so fucking extreme. And we're going full bore on that. And what really pisses me off is the same people who produce this shit would say, oh, the beauty ideal oppresses women, it oppresses girls. Why? Because it's actual meritocracy that recognizes women's agency? Because that's what the beauty ideal does. You have to have discipline. You have to have a certain amount of discipline and dedication, just like the athletic ideal, to be a beautiful woman in the beauty ideal. That requires agency. It requires recognition of agency. That they don't like. We absolutely do not want to see women's agency. These people don't want to see women's agency. They want women to occupy the victim of the victim role, the purely acted upon role. And what they do is unbelievable. They will say that the girls in here will be subject to the beauty ideal. And yet, what are they doing? They are fucking drilling a shunt into their daughters' heads and injecting victimhood right into the center of their brains. And that's okay. That's okay. Beauty ideal is bad, but this is okay. The victim ideal, oh yeah. Let's push this. Let's push this until every single fucking girl in the Western Hemisphere has absolutely no ability to recognize her own personhood outside of how she's acted upon.
Okay.
Let's keep doing it. Let's keep doing it.
Okay. All right.
Then finally, I meet Mr. Perfect. And you're so happy for me, Daddy, because he really adores me. And he's smart with a great job. And all through the winter, he goes cross-country skiing 3 times a week, just like you. But one day, he stops being Mr. Perfect.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just pausing it to, give it a moment to not get DMCA'd by Norway.
And I don't know why. Wait, am I overreacting?
How does he stop being... Okay, wait. Can we stop here for a second? He stops being perfect, and the only visible evidence is that he's just looks away from her in bed?
No, I'm sure she'll elaborate.
Oh, God.
But, she's just like, is she overreacting? Am I overreacting?
One thing I do know, I'm not the victim type.
Yes, you are! No, you don't get to claim that territory.
Yeah.
Not the victim type. Oh, right. Because any questioning of this, don't touch your shunt, dear. Don't touch your shunt. That's injecting victimhood directly into your brain because you might be a chill girl. Oh, it's all wrapped up real nice and tight, huh?
Wouldn't want that. Honestly, it's there are women who find it, very difficult to leave a relationship when it becomes abusive. There are men in that position as well. But they are essentially the ones who are usually also damaged. Like, they will leave if they feel like they have the option. And one of the things with Erin Pittsey's early work was that, she found that there were some women who essentially, through no fault of their own, they didn't go out actively seeking men who were abusive like a lot of women do. They had normal childhoods and they were normal women, but given what era it was, and women's greater financial independence on men, and was much more difficult to obtain a divorce and all of these other things, right? That those women who were like, yeah, I don't want to put up with this anymore, they often needed some help, right? But the women who nowadays, right, the women who are not damaged psychologically from childhood, who are those sort of innocent women who accidentally ended up with men who were abusive, they don't generally need help to say, yeah, you know what, I'm leaving, goodbye. They don't need, like, the women who are probably most likely to be using battered women's shelters and things like that now are probably the women who are violent themselves, who had violent childhoods, who were exposed to their own parents' violence toward each other and all of that stuff, right? So I just, this whole, I'm not the victim type. Yeah, no, everything that you've said in this whole thing, right, is that you are a victim type. You're a victim of an escalation of a sexual encounter that you escalated. You're a victim of rape jokes. You're a victim of, boys being a little bit, goofy with each other. You're a victim of fucking everything, words, thoughts. Yeah.
And what a surprise that when it really counts, because you've been a victim of all of this in meaningless, trivial shit.
And seen yourself as a victim of it.
And seen yourself as a victim of it, you don't have the agency to help yourself anymore.
Yeah.
That's not, and the other thing is, I find it so amazing. They put it in here. They said, I'm not the victim type, because that's a jab towards women such as myself and Karen, no doubt. But also, it is a way of getting women to not question this bullshit. Because this is about selling a particular gender role to women. And then people in Norway turn around and say, oh, I don't know why women don't go into STEM as much as they do in Iran.
Yeah.
I don't know, how is this fun? Because you strip away all of their gumption.
Yeah, no, you tell them that STEM is hostile to women and that they'll be victimized there, and they've been raised on a steady diet of how women are victimized, and they're like, oh, we want to avoid victimization.
And they don't, they will not allow this to be questioned. No. I mean, the statistics don't support this scenario, or at least not the one-sidedness of this scenario, because you could easily have this person be a boy or a young man enduring sexual abuse and violence from his partner. And yet they present this as a scenario that only happens to women. Could you imagine the reverse? Dear mommy,
Yeah.
I know that you're doing all you can to keep me safe. So much that you're doing. It's like you're a superwoman.
Yeah.
But then, you know what happens at puberty?
Yeah.
Girls happen at puberty. And guess what? So do older women.
And
It's
when
like,
I reject them, they call me gay.
you know, it's like, think about it. And yet that would be just as legitimate and just as fucking absurd.
Yeah. No, it's fucking stupid. All right, moving on.
I'm raised to be a strong and independent woman.
Sorry.
But one night it's just all too much for him, with work and the in-laws and the wedding coming up. So he calls me a whore.
Uh-huh.
A whore. He calls you a whore. Okay.
Well, you know, I'm at least like, I'm wondering if she's just like saying, I made these excuses for him. It was the stress of work and the wedding coming up and the in-laws and blah blah blah.
I was expecting something a little more harsh.
That's not really. Oh no, it'll get worse. Believe me.
Are you sure? Have you watched all the way to the end?
No, I have not, but it'll get.
So you're putting your money on a crescendo.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's go forward. Let's find this fucking crescendo.
Okay, he called her a whore.
Just like you called a girl in middle school a whore once.
Oh, you fucking stupid bitch.
Then another day, he hits me. I mean, I'm way out of line. I can really be a bitch.
Oh, for fucking oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god.
Yep.
I guess you were right. It was moving towards a crescendo.
Oh yeah. No, not only does he hit her, but she makes excuses for it because
she's not a victim. She's strong and independent.
Yeah, except for she's not, because if she was, she'd have been like, yeah, that's never going to happen again. And the reason it's never going to happen again is because I'm leaving now.
Or alternatively, just gone into getting some couples counseling.
Yeah.
You know, because the reality is that statistically, violence goes down as a relationship goes on. It doesn't go up.
Yep.
So the likelihood is that it may have been a one-time event, especially if, I don't know, were you actually hitting him?
Especially if there's in-laws visiting, there's a wedding coming up and he's working overtime, right? External stressors are one of the most common causes of common couple violence. And usually between those external stressors being alleviated and the couple figuring out how to resolve conflicts just through time spent together dealing with each other, people do eventually figure out ways to get along, typically, and how to resolve conflicts in healthier ways. Yeah, no, in 50% or more of cases, the violence is sporadic and de-escalates over time.
Yeah, and that's something that should be understood too. The not every relationship
where there's violence is going to escalate until he kills you.
Yeah, and the problem is that because we don't recognize it, in many cases we put people who are in domestic violence situations at risk because they won't get help.
Yeah, no, because I mean, if like I would never have when my boyfriend and I had our one incident where I slapped him and he slapped me back. I would never have called the cops because like he doesn't belong in jail for slapping me after I slapped him, like reflexively slapping me, because it was like less than a tenth of a second later. It was just like bam, bam, right? It was instant. It was absolutely 100% reflexive. And like, why would you put somebody in the system over something that you started?
And what's happening is that people who could otherwise develop anger management or couples counseling and actually develop a peaceable relationship don't go into the system because they don't want their family destroyed by it.
Yeah.
And then because it's unaddressed, the problems that lead to the violence escalate.
Yeah, sometimes they don't get resolved at all. So I mean, it's really unfortunate that we don't look at the issue of couple violence in a more sort of public health way, rather than just strictly through the criminal lens. Yeah.
Okay, here's my question though. This particular narrator doesn't seem to be reliable. I mean, she physically escalates the sexual encounter and then gets upset when the guy physically does exactly what she did, which was physical escalation.
Well, yeah, and then and then took her no for an answer.
Yeah, and took her no for an answer. Like that scenario seems perfectly fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody escalates physically and the other person's like, nope, and you're like, okay. That seems sort of good. That seems. I wish the women who do the no but yes would just go put their head in a blender, but
Yeah.
that worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or alternatively, I wish the guys who encounter a no but yes woman just walk away, but that's probably less likely.
Yeah, no, it would be honestly, I think that the whole yes means yes legislation would meet its end the moment every man actually decided to completely live up to it. So essentially, anytime things are getting a little bit hot and heavy, you would just say to the girl, okay, well, you're going to need to beg and you're going to need to convince me that you really want it. And you might as well get out your pom-poms and do a little cheer, because otherwise I can't possibly know for sure that you actually want it, that you're actually consenting. I need a consistent and enthusiastic ongoing yes.
Yeah, well, the best way to get a consistent and enthusiastic ongoing yes, guys, is to do nothing. Like when the sex initiates, get in the bed, just lie down and be like, you know what? You got to do everything. Otherwise, I don't know if you're consenting.
Yeah.
I hope your cowgirl is good, because I'm difficult to please in that position.
Oh.
I hope you've kept those thigh muscles toned.
You've been doing your Kegels.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
There you go. That's how to nip all that bullshit in the bud, because I can guarantee you women are not going to be happy with that. So, all right, moving on.
We're still the world's greatest couple, and I'm so confused because I love him and I hate him, and I'm not sure if I really did do something wrong, and then one day he almost kills me.
See? Told you. Crescendo.
The other one didn't go to a crescendo.
Yeah, I know, because
it was just tepid bullshit all the way through.
Yeah, it was completely retarded.
Okay, Norway, we're not interested in your choking fetish.
The other one blew its load, like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 of the examples of the 48 in, with the, how much did you drink that night? What were you wearing? Right? That was when it got all rapey. And then after that, it was like, oh, there's really no rape or violence or anything like that. It was just whines. It was just whining about, like, completely stupid stuff, right? So I mean, like, the HuffPo thing, it made the mistake of, like, orgasming, like, 1/10 of the way in, and then the rest of it was just cleaning up the splooge, right?
Yeah, I guess as in terms of feminists, or in terms of feminist performances, this one definitely I mean, it's lasting longer.
Look at how
ladies
she looks while she's being strangled.
Look at how what?
Pretty she looks. Like, she's not grimacing or anything. She's just looking.
Oh, fuck. That's the stupidest way to strangle someone.
Her brow is just a little bit furrowed, and
let's see how he's strangling her.
Okay. Goes black.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Take those arms. Jesus. Stop. You gotta stop it, right?
Oh God. All right. Here we go.
Okay, this is how he's strangling her.
Yeah, I know. This is like from 50 Shades of Grey, isn't it?
I don't know, but it's like, this is probably the easiest choke to defend.
Yeah.
Because you just have to fucking capture, you just have to move your, like, I had this individual that I used to spend time with who was very aggressive, like physically aggressive. He's this gay guy who absolutely hated women. So he would attempt to choke me out whenever we were in the same room together. And I would just be sitting there, and he's doing his best to choke. He's got me in a hold from behind, and I just have my chin in my chest, and I'm putting counter pressure on his arm so I can breathe. And he's like, "Why are you not dying?" I'm like, "Because I fight out of these, 4 times a week."
Yeah.
And this is like, get your chin down.
Yeah.
Get your chin down. Get your legs in it. Yeah. But I don't know. Sorry. I just thought I would go there.
Oh, well,
You're an inefficient MMA fighter, Norway lady.
She looks really pretty. So there you go. That's all that matters.
It kills me. It all goes black. Even though I have
It all goes black from that.
Oh, it can. It can.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not from asphyxiation. It's actually from the pressure on the jugular vein, stopping blood from leaving the brain. So
women really should learn how easy it is to fight out of a choke.
Well, they should learn a lot of things, but
that's victim blaming, isn't it?
It is. Okay, we're gonna like move back. Okay, shh.
Though I have a PhD, a fantastic job, I'm loved by my friends and family, I'm well brought up, and nobody saw this coming. Dear Daddy.
Oh, look at her.
Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, to answer your question, somebody asked in the chat, did I beat the shit out of that gay guy? When he was attacking me, I was just like, generally I could just pretty much fend him off, and I didn't bother. Then he attacked another girl, so I basically took him out, and then he stopped doing that. And by that I meant, and it was sort of a little bit dangerous because I could have broken his spine. I essentially did, I took his back. I did the, oh shit, I'm forgetting my holds. The choke, it's a full Nelson, I think, or half Nelson. And then I pinned his thighs and his, and then pulled him back. So I essentially was, I had him pinned in a full Nelson from the back. And after that, he was a little bit more passive. But it was only because he was attacking a girl who was a lot smaller than me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten involved. Because I don't really give a shit if he's attacking me. It was like, the thing is that he can only muster a little bit above annoyance pain for me when he was attacking me. So I didn't think it was worth it. Like, for me, like, there's levels of pain, right? Some pain you can just be like, that's slightly annoying, but I can deal with it. Anyway, I hope that answers the question.
All right, moving on. Cute little girl.
This is the favor I want to ask. One thing always leads to another. So please stop it before it gets the chance to begin.
Uh-huh.
No.
Don't let my brothers call girls whores. Because they're not. And one day...
Unless they are.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, again, if you're getting called a whore, most likely you're hearing it from another girl, not a boy.
And then the other thing is that, does nobody else notice the irony of a show that's essentially calling all boys abusers? And treating boys like a toxic contagion or a vermin or some sort of alien species, is saying don't call girls whores. Well, yeah, maybe you could not impugn all of this menace and treat boys like they're some sort of, you know what I mean? Like they're alien.
These boys are just robots waiting to be programmed with like nasty rape jokes and stuff, and of course one thing leads to another, right? It's absolutely bizarre, this whole fucking thing. It's just, I don't even fucking know anymore. I'm looking at this boy, and he just seems like, like the boy at the beginning, he just seems like a little sweetie.
Well, the funny thing is if we treated boys, if we told boys that they are, that they are, I would say they're gentle. I mean, it doesn't mean that they can't be rambunctious, but for the most part, when they need to be, they're gentle, and that's normal. That's normal for a human male to be incredibly gentle, cooperative, compassionate. That's normal behavior. Yeah. And if you told them that, instead of impugning all of this malice,
yeah,
even if they goof around and have silly jokes,
Yeah.
what a human male is, what an adult human male is the kindest, gentlest, most cooperative, most innovative
Of any male of any species.
of any male of any species, most self-sacrificing of any male. And this is just naturally. This is what they inherit naturally just by going through puberty. Is that as an emotional system that makes them almost like fucking angelic.
Well,
And-
compared to chimpanzees and bonobos and freaking orangutans and
compared to any animal, compared to wolves, compared to, any animal. You know, they are like human males. There's nothing in our world that wasn't created by two or more men in cooperation.
Yeah.
And given to the women for their use.
Yeah.
And yet we insist on seeing human men as some sort of contagion, some sort of alien interloper, some sort of like disease or something that's wrong, the problem.
Yeah, they colonized women, didn't they?
Yeah. And it's like we see them as like something other than what they are. And we give them no value, and then we complain when they act like they have no value.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys think that these qualities of being innovative, being creative, being cooperative, being compassionate, being self-sacrificing are something that, I don't know, society or women train into them. It's not true.
No.
You have them by virtue of simply going through puberty. And where men fail to exhibit these fine qualities, it's because something has been done to them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that.
And
you sort of leave a boy to his own devices, and you just provide him with support and reassurance, and just general moral guidance. Just in the general sense, moral guidance, and just asking questions of him. Well, how do you feel about what you did, and blah blah blah, right? And typically, if you provide all of those things, they turn into decent people. It's really not that difficult. If you don't rape them, abuse them, neglect them, treat them like shit, talk down to them, belittle them, tell them that they're born wrong somehow, try and convince them that they should be more like this, more like that, more like girls. They're probably going to grow up well-adjusted and nice and compassionate and helpful.
Yeah, the inborn nature of boys and men is so positive that for the most part, even if you inflict the worst kind of grievous bullshit on them, like abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, they will still grow up to be good people.
Yeah, they'll grow up and they'll want to be like a addiction counselor, so that they can help people like their crack addict mother, or they'll grow up and want to be a cop, so that they can help people who were assaulted like they were, or they'll grow up and want to be a teacher or whatever, right? Often they'll grow up and want to be in a role that actually helps people who were going through the shit that they were going through, rather than reenacting it on other people.
Yeah.
So anyhow, moving on.
Think it's true. Don't accept insulting jokes from weird guys by the pool, or even friends. Because behind every joke, there is always some truth.
Not really. Well, okay. Yeah, there is. Okay,
If
so
your dog keeps making noise, I
Oh my-
swear to fucking God, I'm gonna rape it.
go, dog. Go. Okay, so I got a joke for you. Okay. There's this guy, he's walking down the beach, he finds a bottle, he rubs it, and this genie pops out. He's like, I'm the genie of twice as much. Right? And he's like, what does that mean? He says, well, whatever you ask me, 3 wishes I will grant you, but your ex-wife will get twice as much. And so the guy's like, okay, I want to be 10 years younger, right? It's like, it shall be, you're 10 years younger, and now your ex-wife is 20 years younger, right? And he's like, okay, and now I want like $5 billion. And he's like, it is done. You have $5 billion and your ex-wife now has $10 billion. And then the guy says, okay, now I want you to take a tire iron and beat me half to death with it.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God, is there an echo? No, it's good. All right.
Like there is some truth in that. People resent their exes, okay? So.
All right. Somebody in the chat said, kill all men. I drink male tears.
Yeah.
Like all, you know what? If jokes have some truth, and the funny thing is that I don't think that these are jokes, but.
Yeah, no, I don't think they are either, but
listen, it's Senator McCaskill's entire supposedly joking monologue about shutting men up has some truth to it. Okay, you don't want to open that can of worms, my dear.
You really don't.
Woman who can't defeat an easily defeated choke. What kind of woman are you? Like, yeah, seriously.
I know.
You're supposed to be from Norway? I'm a fucking French, half French, like, goddamn little piece of shit.
I'm a Viking and I'm really ashamed of this girl.
Yeah, like you know what? You're not a woman. You can stay in the word girl.
No shield maiden, bitch.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. That choke was weak.
But yeah, no, I just like the whole there is truth to most jokes, right? I mean, like there is some, otherwise they wouldn't be funny if there wasn't some element of truth to a lot of different jokes, right? Even when Bill Burr's doing his diatribe about, there's no reason to hit a woman and, and blah, blah, blah. And can you at least, if men can admit that some guys are out there, some monsters are out there who need to be buried under the prison, can you ladies at least admit that not every ass kicking falls out of the fucking sky, right? And then he pauses and he's like, why is it so quiet in here, right? Because, like, it is funny, right? And then the fact that he's like, I've just made everybody really uncomfortable by saying something that's true and funny at the same time, right? So why is it so quiet in here? Now you guys get to laugh at what a bunch of pussies you are, because you can't actually admit that this other shit I said is funny because it's true too. Right? Sometimes there is a reason to hit a woman. Not every ass kicking falls out of the fucking sky, right? Rihanna wasn't fucking saying, oh, a Baskin Robbins, do you want to get some ice cream, right before Chris Brown beat her up. That's not what she was saying. That's not what was going on in the car 10 seconds before he freaking opened up on her, right? You know it. I know it. We all know it. Right?
Yes.
So...
Right. It would be good. I think girls like this really need to take some martial arts, and not in the good type, not the bullshit like karate, like MMA. Like they don't like that. They don't like the wrestling type, which are actually useful, because if you're afraid of the ground, guess where you're going to end up.
Yeah, and also MMA, like grappling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all of those things are things that women are probably going to be better at doing anyway, because women really can't throw a punch with the same degree of force a man can, but they can.
Well, you're not going to be better at it, dear. No, you're not going to be better at it, but you will learn.
But women can be very wiggly.
Yeah, you can be very wiggly, or women can be, and I actually have some issues with flexibility in my legs because I have so much fucking scar tissue built up in my calves. But no, I wouldn't say that women have an advantage on the ground. They definitely don't. But you do have an advantage if you are trained. And you understand that you're not made out of glass.
Oh,
like, I know I'm not fucking made out of glass. That's one of the biggest lessons that's important to learn, is you're not made out of glass. Also, you can learn that certain chokes are very easy to fight out of. And I don't like why do this video? Why not just enroll? Oh, wait, I have an idea. Norway. Why don't they put the girl into like military training?
Yeah.
Don't they do that to the men in Norway?
Yes, they do.
Holy shit, her problem would be completely fucking solved. All she has to do is get some basic military training, do some labor. I mean, and I think she would feel a lot more confident about herself physically.
What bothers me is this idea that like a woman who gets hit is just gonna like completely disintegrate into a million pieces. I've been hit. I've been hit multiple times in my life. I got beat up when I was 10 years old, right? And you learn that like getting hit it's really not that bad. I mean, this is something that I hear from every guy, right? Who has like my boyfriend, right? Who before he turned 18, he'd been 3 times just walking home from work or whatever, right? Jumped by other guys who were interested in like taking his wallet and maybe kicking the shit out of him. And yeah, he takes some hits, you take a few hits, you dish it out, right? He'd been bullied. He played hockey, midget triple A, right? So like fairly up there, and he'd been being like bullied and picked on and singled out by other members of the team. And his dad was like, just go up to the biggest one and just fucking punch him in the face, right? And he ends up getting held down by the guy's brother while the guy pummels him. And, and it's like, so he's like 20 years old. And his nose has been broken like 4 times, right? By the time he was 20, right? And somehow he's just really not that scared of being hit.
No, I have been punched in the face, like in MMA, not full strength. And I actually the punching, like it's interesting when you do like ground sports, it's not usually being punched that gets you the black eyes, it's being kneed in the face.
Yeah.
And I've had lots of those.
Oh yeah.
And that freaking hurts. Actually, the one injury that always fucking hurts the most is when I think I've sprained my pinky toes. Oh God, I hate that. Oh, it's just awful.
The worst is when you take a knee to the nose.
Yeah, that's pretty bad too. I've never like it's you just get used to pain, really. Like no, I'm actually terrible at MMA. I'm terrible at fighting, but I have done like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically. So, and you get used to a certain amount of pain.
Yeah.
It just becomes incidental. Like, and you know that you're not like completely made out of glass. I mean, it's not a situation where you can really defeat guys, but you learn how to fight. If a guy isn't trained, usually you can take him. That's one of the things. Yeah. Because you know not to fight against strength. You take the back, or you do something, get away from the fists.
Yeah, or use their own momentum against them is a big.
Yeah, but the other thing is that you learn what kind of pain is incapacitating and what isn't. I don't think this girl knows the difference.
Yeah, no, most women don't. Most women really haven't been, and this starts right from the word go, where like boys are much more likely to be hit by their parents than girls, and at about 2 to 3 times the amount, right? So, if parents actually are abusive, they'll abuse their boys, 2 to 3 times as much as they will their girls. So, I mean, boys grow up understanding that like physical violence is not something that breaks you. Girls, because they are so unlikely to experience it in any real way, they have this absolute terror of it.
Yeah, actually, what's interesting? I have a really interesting story to share about, and that would explain, because they feminists love to quote the whole, oh, girls or women are afraid of physical violence, men are afraid of humiliation. Well, there's a reason for that, and it says exactly the opposite of what you're trying to advance. And I'm going to use the example of Londoners during the Blitz. Initially, before the Blitz occurred, psychiatrists were worried that there would be mass pandemonium when the Germans started the bombings. But what ended up happening is, and it was a surprise to them, a complete surprise to them, is that there wasn't. Everyone was calm and continued to go about their business, even as they were being bombed.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that they found out later is because there are 3 categories of people. And it's not like the type of person, it's not what they were before the bombing started. the three categories are categorized by how close they are to the damage of the bombing. If you're far from it, like if you're very, very you're very far from the actual bombing, you'll be scared because you don't have any experience of it. You don't have any experience at all of having been bombed, and it'll be a frightening prospect. If you are part of the group that's directly hit, so you're injured, you're killed. Well, if you're killed, you're dead. That's, you're not going to panic. But if you're killed, if you're injured, or if you're very close to someone who has been injured, then you're going to be part of the main. You're going to suffer trauma. But what they found is the people in between those two extremes, the people who experienced a bomb, say, down the street, but weren't directly affected by it.
Yeah.
They developed a feeling of invulnerability. So if you have a close call to something that's traumatic, you feel yourself invulnerable. And that's what's happening with men. Because all men, or most men, have a close call with violence, and it's a very close call usually, they feel invulnerable to it. Because violence touches almost every man's life. Men feel invulnerable to it. Yeah. But unfortunately, because violence affects almost every man's life, there's still a far greater number of men who are directly and very acutely traumatized by violence than women. Because men are more exposed to violence overall than women, they develop an immunity to it and they feel invulnerable. Because women are so distant from violence, so sheltered from violence, so it's so far from their everyday reality. Because they are actually the most safe and secure group of people on the planet.
Including children.
Including children. They are not afraid. They are afraid of violence. Just like the people who did not experience bombing were afraid of being bombed until they were.
Yeah.
And if they survived, they felt invulnerable. So that's what's going on. And it's the exact opposite of what feminists are advancing. Because women and violence are two categories that are so far apart. It's very, very, very few women experience very severe violence at all.
Yeah.
Very few. Whereas every man I know has experienced being punched in the face or being beaten.
Yeah.
Or having something like some brush with violence. And that gives them, if they survive it, and fairly easy, like they survive it and there's no severe physical or mental consequences to it, they will generate a feeling of invulnerability. So it's not that men are sheltered from violence, which is patently absurd. It's because they aren't, that they're not afraid. Yeah. And that's what makes this shit so appalling. If she's afraid of violence, let her experience some in a controlled situation.
Yeah.
So that she becomes invulnerable, or she feels less vulnerable to it.
Yep. Agreed. All right, moving on.
Dear Daddy, I know you will protect me from lions, tigers, guns, cars, and even sushi without even thinking about the danger to your own life. But dear Daddy.
Okay, just pausing it because, gotta pause it.
Yeah, we know.
I will be born a girl. Please do everything you can so that won't stay the greatest danger of all.
It isn't, you stupid bitch. If you were born a boy, you'd die like 5 to 7 years earlier, and you'd be way more likely to die by violence.
Like I said, this is how they maintain the statistics, Karen. I mean, if we didn't have this constant drumbeat, then girls might actually be in the same category as boys when it comes to experiencing violence.
Oh my God, it's just...
we have to maintain this. This is essentially maintaining the status quo, and yet it's presenting itself as somehow progressive.
Oh, it's some new idea. Like yeah. I said, no father ever thought of making the world a safer and better place for his daughter, and no daughter ever thought of asking her daddy to protect her. Not in the entire history of humanity. This is like totally new.
Well, I would say that this level of severity is totally new.
Well, to this level of complete exclusion of like you essentially have we came from a system where women were hearing good and bad things about men. Men can be dangerous, but men can also be helpers and rescuers and all of these other things. And men are necessary and they're useful and they're supportive and they're kind and they're decent and they're, honorable and all of these other things about men. The idea behind this is that it's somehow special for a man, for a father to be those things, even toward his own daughter, that she needs to actually tell him to be those things toward her. Right. Like, give me a fucking break. I'm just so grossed out by this.
Well,
it's
Sorry.
it's not really your fault. It's annoying when it's not your fault. The thing is that with this, not only does it, you're right, it's not new. Not only does it say, well, fathers, they never really thought about protecting their bullshit. You already know that fathers do this. In fact, I would guarantee that these people know that they're playing on the fact that men are what they are, naturally.
Of course.
Otherwise, they wouldn't even. And they're playing on that while simultaneously pretending it's not true, which is what's so galling.
That's what feminism has always done. It has always exploited men's protectiveness and love for women in order to convince all of society, including men, that men hate women. Yeah.
And the other thing is that all of this is about appealing to a male protector. Are you not at all about giving this girl the tools to actually protect herself. Like, her protection is never her responsibility. That's being a child.
Yeah, it really is. Like, she's a grown adult at some point in this, about to get married, and she still is like, Dad, you didn't make the world perfect for me.
Well, the other thing is that do these people who promote this realize? Okay, let me ask you something, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think someone like me is going to tolerate or even be as vulnerable to the shit that they're showing as her?
Oh God, it's like
No, but just would you think someone like myself or someone like yourself is going to be as vulnerable to these problems that they're presenting as?
No, like it's like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like,
yeah, like me and you, who take responsibility for our own safety, who have some perception of ourselves as not being made of glass. Yeah, we can take care of ourselves better.
Yeah, no, and who are actually sort of independent, who are like, you know what? If I have to leave that guy, I will.
Yeah, this is like not, it's not even an issue. So we are actually safer because we don't ingest this bullshit.
Yeah.
We are safer as women because we don't ingest this bullshit. So this bullshit is not just implicating young men and boys in a culture as responsible for rape and domestic abuse because they call girls names. It's not just doing that, which is total bullshit. It's also making women more in danger.
Yeah, no, it is. It's essentially telling women to take on a victim posture. And then once you've taken on a victim posture, you're more likely to be victimized. Predators can tell who's going to be an easy mark and who's not. They just can. It's like...
Yeah, I have some stories if you're interested.
Go ahead.
I don't usually do story time, but I will. There's two incidents that stick out in my mind that I think if I were this girl, I would have ended up dead or raped. And this is what's really funny. This is what feminists really need to answer for. You are increasing the number of women who end up dead and raped by advancing this kind of victim bullshit. By not telling women that they are their own first line of defense against anything. You are your own first line of defense, ladies. Anybody who tells you anything different is essentially culpable for making you more in danger.
Well, I mean, look at this girl. I'm a strong, independent woman with a PhD and a great job, and all of my friends adore me. And it's like, okay. So external validation from everywhere, but where's your fucking spine?
Yeah, and we know where her spine is. It was sucked out by feminist rhetoric.
Yeah,
Like this is what's hilarious is no, we can't have the beauty ideal, but we can certainly have this kind of feminist rhetoric that teaches women to adopt a victim posture that was more likely to get them raped and murdered.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's okay. You know that. But what the examples I wanted to use is one time I was walking late at night through a park, admittedly sort of a stupid move, and there was a grotto. So it was the path goes under a series of boulders that are on top, and I would know this because I would walk this path when it wasn't dark, and so the boulders overhung slightly the path, and one night when I was walking there, and it was because I had been at school later, so I ended up doing my walk later. I walked under those boulders, and I heard a male voice over, like, up above me say, "Where are you going?" You know what I did? I pointed directly in front of me, and I said, "That way," and kept going.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't feel any fear, but after that happened, I was like, wait, that could have ended a lot worse for me.
Yeah, no, that could have been really.
And the reason why I say it is not because it was a male, but the way he was talking was extremely aggressive. And I've read a lot about self-defense, specifically Mark the Animal Young. Criminals will interview you to figure out whether or not you'll be a good mark. And I made myself a very not good mark when I, without any fear, responded to his question. And I wasn't being challenging either. I was just answering his question without fear and without really giving anything away.
Yeah.
And this girl, you know what she would have done?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
And then dead.
Yeah.
And there's another incident. This is a little bit more subtle, and this is a result of me having part of my having gone through martial arts training and figured some things out about how people move in order to dominate your space physically.
Yeah.
A while back, my family would once a week we would go to a restaurant, and bear in mind, I don't know for sure, but there was a guy who was working behind the counter that struck me as bad news. I'm not sure how I pick up on these things, but I noticed that there was something concerning about him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's impossible for men to be concerning, because that's totally true, or that women should not trust their instincts in these circumstances, because that's good too. But what ended up happening is, after we had gone there because we'd go there every week, one week somehow they decided to switch and have it so that the waiters were behind the counter, and him and the people who used to like staff the kitchen were serving the customers. It was like really fucking weird. And they even mentioned it. They were like, "Yeah, today we're going to have the kitchen staff serve the customers." I'm like, "What?"
Oh, it's probably to promote team cohesion and give all the team members a taste of what the other members have to deal with.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, when he was serving us, I noticed when he served me, the way he moved, like it's like, you know how you're a waiter, you can put a plate on front of somebody without wrapping your arm around them.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he didn't touch me.
Yeah.
But he was in a way, and I picked up on it instantly. It was a position of physical dominance.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, this is something that I wouldn't like, no implication, no legal, nothing. Like I wouldn't put any legal stuff on it. It's just a sense that you get when you're used to being in a position of fighting people off and knowing when they're going to go in and do something. So I got that sense, and I just looked at him like, "Yeah, I know what you're doing." I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. Yeah. And his expression, like, after that, was not necessarily shame, but just disappointment almost.
Yeah.
It was creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
And I know it's all very subtle, so I understand if people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Alison?"
Well, there are definitely guys out there who are bad news for sure. And some of them are very, very good at intimidating people without really coming across. A lot of
Yeah.
women are like that
It
too.
was completely, no one would have noticed.
Yeah, except the person that it's aimed at. It's
Yeah,
like
but
it's
I
like
know,
it's like women with the quiet cutting remark that nobody else at the table realizes is it an insult except for the person that it's aimed at.
yeah, and I know waiters, and I know you can, I've seen this before. Even normally, people won't do stuff like that because it's like a normal thing that you avoid. You
Yeah.
don't get into people's space like that because it is a challenge.
Yeah.
So it was, like I said, very subtle. So I wouldn't put any stock on it. But however, if it had been a situation where I was this girl, I would probably just submit to the invasion of my space, because I think that's what he was going for, was
Yeah.
to see if I would just submit to the invasion of my space, and I would actually move away from him rather than holding my ground and saying, "Yeah, don't do that."
Yeah. No,
So
it's definitely like and there are other ways. I mean, like you don't always have to be like super tough or anything. My daughter seems to disarm people just with pure niceness. Um, like she, like the quintessential moment was, on her way walking home after midnight from work from the bus stop, two drunk guys, right? They're like, "Hey, good looking, where are you going? We're going to a party, you should come with us, blah blah blah." And they, obviously they want to sort of get in her way, get in her path to stop her and all of that. And then she just smiles at them and says, "Oh, I really can't. I'm heading home and I have some things to do there that really need to get done. But, thank you so much for inviting me. I hope you have a great time. And it was really nice to meet you." And then she sticks out her hand, like put her there, and shakes both their hands and just goes off on her merry way. And I swear to God, she said, "I think I was 2 blocks away before they even like realized what had just happened."
yeah,
Like, because she just showed absolutely no fear. She was just like perfectly pleasant and friendly, right? Like no fear, no unease, no nothing, no nervousness. Just responded in a way that like nobody responds to something like that after midnight when they're alone on a sidewalk with 2 drunk guys who are,
yeah. That's the thing. It's like it. This isn't where somebody in the chat says we believe in rape culture and we've gone full social justice warrior. Saying that there are men who rape and
or
they act.
men who mean other people harm is
Yeah,
like,
that's just a given. There are men who mean other people harm, and they do things to ensure that they can get away with the harm that they mean to do, which
yeah,
usually involves very, very subtle maneuvering or interviewing prior to choosing an attack partner. That's not the same as flirting. Know
yeah.
the fucking difference.
Yeah, no, it's essentially like the one time my boyfriend was jumped by 2 guys. He knew they were walking behind him. And he noticed that one of them had swung wide and was walking sort of in the right-hand lane of the street, and the other one was hugging the right side of the sidewalk, and they were trying to flank him from either side, right? And like you just sense this kind of thing, right? And that doesn't mean that women don't do it. I know a girl, and she's actually similar to my daughter in her approach to these gang of girls on the bus who tried to take her purse, right? And she essentially just said, "Okay, well, okay, you can have my purse, but like, here, can I just get my ID out of it, right?" And so she takes out her ID and she's like, "Well, I just, like," and her wallet, right, which has like $8 in it or something. And then she's like, "Oh, but you're not going to want this lipstick. I mean, I've been using it and you don't want the germs. And oh, and you don't want this." And she in front of them, right, while they're standing there just like jaws dropped, right? She's emptying out her purse and putting things in her pockets, right? All the stuff in her purse, right? Saying, "Well, you don't want this. You wouldn't have any use for this, right? Oh, and this is my little phone directory thing. You wouldn't need that. And, but I really do." And all of this stuff, right? So that in the end, there was only like the $8 left. And she's like, "Do you really want my purse? Or are you going to just be happy with the $8? And they just took her $8 and left. But no idea how to deal with that.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's the thing. And the funny thing is that women are their most effective defense. Like any woman who's listening to you, you as a person are your most effective line of defense against anyone who wants to do you harm.
Yeah, whether they're a male or a female.
Yeah, because anybody else is not going to be able to respond as quickly as you are.
Yeah.
So if you're the first line of defense, and you should consider yourself your first line of defense, don't rely on your daddy. Don't rely on your husband. Don't rely on men, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just don't rely on them to be responsible for your protection.
They're not going to be there all the time.
They're not going to be there all the time, and they can't actually protect you as well as you can protect yourself.
So,
it's as simple as that.
It's really unfortunate. Like, I really don't think that we have anything resembling a rape culture going on. But like I said, and like you said, there are people out there of both sexes who are like really atrocious people. And they will actually try and get in your space. And I don't think those two drunk guys would have done my daughter any harm if she had responded a different way. But she certainly would not have like thrown them completely for a loop. If she'd responded like the typical girl, right? They might have, been like, oh, come on, oh, you want to come with us, blah, 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 right? And she just didn't have fucking time for that. And she's just like, so she just like was just like, I'm going to be super, super nice and super, super firm. And then off I go.
And that's actually another way, being nice, it's not my forte, but being nice is also another form of self-defense.
Actually, there was a line in a romance novel I read. It was a historical romance, and it was sort of the family matriarch tutoring her granddaughter about why manners and courtesy are important. And she said, courtesy is the shield between a young woman and the rest of the world, right? Courtesy is important. Courtesy protects you. You get too familiar and other people get familiar with you, maybe in ways that you aren't interested in having them do, right? And so always, always, always courtesy. And I think it was probably the handshake that did it with my daughter that really threw those guys, right? Because that's not something that you would expect from a girl to begin with. A girl, especially a girl her age, I think she was 19 at the time, and they were maybe in their early 20s. And it's not something that they would have expected any girl that they invited to a party to do. Put her there. Nice to meet you, right? Have a good night.
Well, this is the thing. And also all right. In this scenario, they're also teaching her to pay attention to absolutely the wrong guy. Because the guy who she escalates physically with, and then he escalates physically with her, and then she says no, and he backs off. Why is he in any way scary? He's just proven that when she says no, he'll back off. What she should be concerned about is the guy who's waiting, not doing anything while she's still aware enough to say no, waiting for her to either become incapacitated or somehow maneuvering her to be separate from the rest of the party.
Yeah, agreed.
Because that's if there's going to be anybody who does that, he's not going to make his intentions known.
Yeah.
And the other thing that when I read about, and again, it's Mark the Animal Young who talked about self-defense, particularly self-defense for women. A lot of times when a woman is raped in sort of the party scenario, first of all, the guy will try to isolate her. And then what instigates the rape is he takes some sort of liberty. And unlike the guy in the scenario in this particular ad, he doesn't he escalates physically faster. That was a perfectly valid escalation. She pulls him in for a kiss. He goes in for a little bit of heavy petting. That's perfectly valid. I'm talking about talking to some guy and then he just pulls you in and tries to shove his tongue down your throat when the conversation was about carburetors or something. So the individual will escalate really rapidly
in a very inappropriate kind of,
not in a tit for tat way. And then when she does something like slap him, then he will become enraged And that's what he found out when he was interviewing rape victims. That's what he found out a lot of the progression was. They would begin the violence, and then he would up it.
Yeah.
And what he suggested was, if a guy is isolating you and being inappropriate, your first task is to get back to where other people are.
Yeah.
Not to actually not to slap him because he's being fresh, but to get back to where people are.
Yeah.
And that is a way to prevent yourself from being raped. So, don't engage in violence unless you are the kind of woman who can finish it. Like, that's what I mean. If you want to start violence, and in this instance, you don't have any sympathy for the guy. He's a rapist, and he wants to rape this woman. If you're the type of woman who can end the encounter, who can end the violence in your favor, then go ahead and use violence.
Yeah.
If you're not, don't. Get yourself to a place where you're safe, where other people are around.
Yeah, definitely. So.
Yeah. Anyway, that we've been yakking long enough.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just kind of grossed out by the whole video.
Well, it is disgusting because it isn't really about, like, everything that these people are saying is going to make women more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, that incident in the park where the guy this woman would have been killed and raped if that guy had been so inclined, because her response wouldn't be towards protecting herself. Her response would be towards trying to call for another person to protect her, which wouldn't have worked because the immediate circumstance, nobody would come in time.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things, like the biologists will say, we have a fight or flight response, but I think actually that's sort of a male-centric view of things, because men do definitely sort of have the two responses, flight or fight. Women have three: flight, fight, or freeze and scream, and most of them opt for the third one, and that's really unfortunate, because that's not actually taking action. That's summoning action to be taken on your behalf, which makes you look more vulnerable than you are.
Yeah, and in an immediate situation, what these people are teaching this girl is going to kill her. If she ever is in a situation where she's facing serious violence, this ad has just made her that much more likely to die, and that's sort of sick.
Well, because they don't understand. Like, they don't get, like, they want to pin a political or sociological cause onto everything, rather than sort of the individual cause of abuse during childhood and sexual abuse by women during childhood, and all of those. Those are not societal causes. Those are individual causes. It's not about social programming. It's about the experiences of one individual, right? And they don't want to look at that. And I think part of the reason is that it's almost like they are more willing to shift responsibility off of a rapist and onto the entirety of society than shift the responsibility off of a rapist and onto a woman who abused him, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess my patience and my forgiveness is limited, because not only are they, like I said, not only are they implicating men and boys as responsible as a whole for this, they're also taking away women's capability of protecting themselves by encouraging them to adopt a victim mindset, which will get them killed if they ever if they ever experience any real violence. It'll get them killed. Full stop.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is they're sacrificing women, because they don't give a shit about the women that their advocacy will kill or get raped, in favor of what? What is the benefit here?
Well, because it makes, like, it means that boys and men have to change, and it dismantles the patriarchy. Or something. So anyhow, I'm gonna fuck off now, I think. we should probably end this. Are we going to shill?
Do you want to do a shill?
Oh, I really don't.
Okay, that's fine then. You guys, you know what to do. If you want to continue to, I mean, the deal is this: we'll build this as big as you want it. We'll build it, and then we'll climb up the scaffold that we've built and scream to the top of our lungs. You know what, people? Creating this shit, which actually puts women in danger and implicates men, that's bullshit. Just stop doing it. Doesn't help anyone.
And then we'll urinate on them all.
Yes, well, maybe you.
From the top of our big thing that we built.
I'm not sure if I'm going to go that far.
No, I'm totally going to do it.
Okay, well, with or without the urine portion.
All right.
If you like our message, you want us to be able to shout it as far and as hard and as urine drenched as possible. www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. Yeah. Let the butt hurt flow, or in Karen's case, let the pee flow.
There you